Right, welcome back. What we're going to look at now is we're going to look at our hazard material, our hazard object, should I say. So essentially, this is what's going to be coming on along from the right hand side of the screen, or left hand side if you want your object to the right hand side. It's up to you. But what we've got so far is we've got our player animated. We can click, it'll go up. We don't click, it drops down. So that's all good at the moment. So what we're going to look at, as I say, is this hazard. So to start with, what I'm going to suggest is if we create an empty game object in the scene. So I'm going to right click, press create empty. I'm going to add myself a sprite renderer to this. So we'll have a sprite in here. For the time being, I'm just going to use my danger material there, which we created when we cut the sprites up. I'm going to add a box collider 2D. Obviously, it's a 2D object, so we're going to see that. As we can see here, the box collider fits this perfectly, which is good. And just for the sake of this, I'm going to move it down to here. Right, so we've got that. I'm also going to add myself in a... Actually, I won't do that now. We'll do that in the next tutorial. So what we'll see now, we've got that in there. Just make sure to click this box here. It says is trigger, because the whole idea of this is that when the character collides with this, it'll trigger something to happen, which essentially means, you know, restart level or kill the character, whatever you want it to mean. So I'm just going to call this hazard, and this is like a new system, so I'm just going to quickly go over this a little bit. So what we can also do with objects is we can tag them. So you'll see just under where we typed hazard up there, there is a tag. It says tag and untag next to it. If we click in there and go to add tag, it'll say list is empty. What we need to do is we need to add a tag into here. It's very important that you remember the name of this, and also not only just remember the name of it, remember how you typed it. What did you capitalize? That kind of stuff. If it's multiple words, did you put spaces? You know, what did you do? So I'm just going to call this hazard, and I'm going to capitalize the H, and that's all that we need for there. Just be careful with this, because as you would expect that because you created that tag on that object, it's now tagged, but if I click on there, we're still untagged. So I can click on here and select my hazard tag. Right, the next little bit is in code. So what I want you to do is I want you to open up your bird controller, because the easiest way of doing this is to check when the bird or character, whatever yours is, hits the object, rather than checking if all the objects have hit the bird, because there's going to be more than one of them. It's a lot of checking going on. So here we go. So this is the script we wrote before, and what we need to do is we need to add another function. So between this curly bracket and this curly bracket, we are just going to, you know, put a couple of enters in there just so that we can write something in there. So because it's a new function, we want to start with a void, which, as we've gone over before, means function. This is a new event, so what this is going to be called is an on trigger enter 2D. Make sure to spell it just like that, or it will not reference the right event. Space, open bracket. So what we're going to be looking for is we're going to be looking for something with a collider, a 2D collider, obviously. And then this next section is where we name the other object that we hit, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to call it that. I'm going to call it other. So this will check, have I hit a 2D collider, and what is the other object? So there we go. That's what the function does. So we need a open curly bracket, close curly bracket, so that we can put the rest of the script in here. I'm just going to put a little bit of space in here, because there's going to be quite a lot that goes into this by the end of the series of tutorials. So we're checking, right, has this hit the danger object? So for this, we're going to need an if statement. So if we type if, obviously, open bracket, normal bracket that is, we're going to look for other, which is, as we've seen before, the object we're looking for, full stop or dot, compare tag, that's what we're going to be looking for, so we're comparing to see what the tag is, open bracket. Then we're going to add in like speech marks, because it's a string, and that's how you always check to see a string. You kind of quoting it, probably quotation marks then. Then we're going to type in the exact name of our tag that we put in, so hazard. Close that bracket, close the other bracket. So because it's an if statement, it's just like doing a function. Open, close curly braces. And then what we're going to have in here is we're going to have our function for what happens when it hits it. So that's kind of going in there now. So what we'll do is I'm probably going to go with adding in, and you can do this as well. So we're going to using Unity Engine dot scene management up here, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it to load the current scene. So let me just double check on this. So if I go into here, build settings, right, I haven't actually got that scene in there yet. So if I add the open scene, scenes level. So I need to make sure, like we did with the UI tutorial, that I've got the right int ID. So that's 0. So load this back up. What am I doing? Scene manager dot load scene, open bracket, the ID for it, the int ID that is, not the scene name. We don't really need to do that, we can just do this. So what this will now do is it's checking, is there been a collision or a trigger collision? If there has, is the tag hazard? If it is, can we start the scene again? So I'm just going to save this, go back into here. As we can see, we've got the hazard underneath, and then I'm going to click play, make sure that that's all still working, hit that, oh look, we start again. So that's working. Us hitting that hazard makes it work. The next tutorial, because we've done what we need to do, we've set this up to work with the next series of tutorials. I'm breaking down into 3 different tutorials. We're going to go over the spawning script. So essentially, spawning the hazards in from on the right, and they'll move across. But there's 3 levels to this. So the first level is spawning one object in from one position continuously. So think of it as like something like a jumper game. You'd keep jumping over stuff, setting a different kind of a different timer for when something spawn. The second one is going to be multiple spawn points spawning one object, and the third one will be multiple spawn points spawning multiple different objects. They're kind of broken down into different difficulties, but I'm going to record a video for each just so you can do the one that's relevant for you. So choose which one you want to do. Maybe you want to do them all, try them all. That's entirely up to you, but that's what we're going to be doing next. So this is successful. We've got this all working. Spot on.